Polyvagal theory has its own application to early childhood development. What we'd like to see for children when they come out of the birth canal is a polyvagal dominance of the parasympathetic system. Again, that's the system that helps us rest, it helps us with long-term immune system function, helps with digestion. But a lot of babies get hurt. So 40% of all babies when they come through the birth canal or if they're belly births end up with a bruise underneath the dura, that's the protective wrap around their brain. And those little hematomas, those little bruises, end up causing some nerve system dysfunction in the brain. When that happens, then the body automatically by default goes into a sympathetic state, and that changes the baby's ability to digest food well. So that baby might be crabby and fussy and not sleeping and also pooping like 10, 15 times a day, right? It's mobilizing, getting stuff out, really evacuating. Or some of those babies, if they've really gotten hurt, could maybe not be pooping at all. Maybe their digestive system is just really slow and sluggish, and they don't have a really good parasympathetic boost to them. And so if that's the case, then they aren't eliminating, and some well-meaning doctors may be telling that parent that it's totally normal for their baby to go 7 days without bowel movements when they should be going 2 to 5 times a day. That colors the conditions under which that we take care of those kids. I have to figure out, do I have a sympathetically dominant child or one that needs more parasympathetic input, or do we need to boost up the energy in the system? The other thing that we'll look at is how is the child's hardwired reflexes talking to them about their environment. And those hardwired reflexes break into 3 pieces to a ladder. The first piece in there is the balance or where is up system. We call that the vestibular system. It's really the conductor for the orchestra. It's the first one to lay down. It helps to organize all the other senses. It basically gets your baby from being the potato, horizontal, to being a vertical being by 12 months. That's the main job of the nerve system. The second thing that should happen is that we're going to be seeking proprioceptive, or where are my body parts at position. The reason that I can make my 2 fingers touch here is because I have an idea, because I have a map of where all my body parts are in my brain, and I can make those 2 things connect. That proprioceptive system for little kids is building information in their big muscles of their shoulders and hips. So crawling and climbing is a really important thing for them to learn how to do. But some hardwired reflexes, like how do they cross their midline, when they tip their head to one side, they should bow their torso, or when they're on all fours and they bend their elbows, their legs should straighten. These are light reflexes that I'm looking for to see that they're appropriately developing. The third system, and this one usually starts kicking in a big sensory seeking way around the age of 3, is the touch reflex system. This is the drawing a finger, taking my finger and drawing on their hands and seeing if they rub their hands off, or drawing on their face, are they still tickly, or on their back, or wiggly, or on their feet, their toes flare up or curl. All of those things will help me understand what are they seeking right now, information-wise, to lay down important tracks in their brain. And then what happens after that piece is over and integrated in their brain is then we begin to prune things back in that same order again. So usually you have your 4 or 5-year-olds who are jumping off all the things. They're the big daredevils, because again, they're seeking that wee sense inside their body of where is up. They're rolling around down hills or spinning around like crazy people. They're very, very busy, right? And that is intentional for their brains to develop, especially with boys. They got to be able to move their bodies. By the time they're around 5 or 6 years old, then we start working on the proprioceptive thing again. That then goes from the big muscles of the shoulders and hips into the tiny muscles like in the hands. So that's usually where you see some children beginning to know how to write. They go from using Duplo bricks to little Lego bricks and being able to put the doubles and singles on. The last system to finish its integration around 6 or 7 years old is the touch system again. And that touch system for some kids looks like they're putting all their pencils in their mouth and chewing on them. Their shirts are going in their mouths. We're saying, get that out of your mouth. But what they're doing is they're integrating something that's built 2 million years old in their brain, which is their rooting reflexes. If you think about 2 million years ago, we're all walking together as a tribe. You're not really sure where your next meal is going to come from. It's real handy to have mom still producing milk, because you know it's clean, you know where it came from, and it's readily available. And so that's the point in time. Teeth have been coming in for a while. We got molars. We can start going after our own food. But once we get that reflex completely integrated, at that point in time, we have now taken our sensory world and it's started to make sense for our brains. And then the frontal lobes that really do our higher order thinking can develop. But if those things haven't happened in that specific order, then what we have is an issue with processing. And that's a big piece of what I take care of with kids here, is making sure that everything is going regular, that there isn't signs of nervous system dysfunction along the way from 0 years old until they're ready for school. My own son, Forrest, has had some issues with some of that, and he was a belly birth, and he was under chiropractic care his entire life. But sometimes we've got some brain processing things that actually need some extra help. And so again, part of the extra study that I've done on the neurology is helping to understand what supplementation might benefit certain kids who might need to focus a little bit more, who might need to recover from the head trauma that they've had. If they've had, falls downstairs, they fall out of a changing station, or they're like our son Charlie Danger, who's fallen off every surface he possibly can. What do we need to do if he does hit his head, instead of just saying, "Oh, you're okay," and hug him, to be able to screen and make sure that his brain really is all right?